Hello, my name is Venkatashravya Gadamsetti. My registration number is 18BEC0616 and my serial number is 40. I am from slot A1 plus TA1 of Computer Organization and Architecture. Today I am going to explain my digital assignment 1, which was to analyze a microprocessing element and correlate the microprocessing element to the things we learned in COA class. So for that I chose the microcontroller TM4C1233D5PM by Texas Instruments. So first let us take a look at the block diagram of the microcontroller. This is the block diagram of the microcontroller. As you can see, there are three main parts. One is the system peripherals, second is the serial peripherals, and the third is the analog peripherals. I also drew the JTAG interface. This gives us an overview of how the information flows within the microcontroller. This is the hibernation module. This is the internal memory. The internal memory has a ROM control which is connected to a ROM array. The flash control and the flash write buffer are together connected to the flash array. There is a flash protection and these are the user registers. This is the EEPROM of the microcontroller. This is the analog to digital converter. This is the SSI module. This is the central processing unit block diagram, and this is the trace port interface unit. To draw all of these diagrams, I used a software called draw.io, which I will be explaining at the end of this video. Next, let us take a look at the instruction set of the microcontroller. This is the instruction set of the microcontroller. There are approximately 260 instructions. Some of the most important ones are add with carry and add. There is also a compare and branch if non-zero and compare and branch if zero. So what this does is it compares two values. If both the values are not equal, it would result in a non-zero value and it would branch to another place of the code. If they are equal, it results in 0 and it would branch to a different location in the code. Then we have an exclusive OR. We have a logical shift left and a logical shift right. We have the move operation. We have a logical OR not. We have saturating add, rotate right. We have the signed multiply accumulate instruction. We have signed subtraction. And we have a test if equivalent. We have the rotate instructions. We have a floating point divide instruction which is used for division. So now I will explain what these letters N, Z, C, B, Q and G, E mean within the instruction set. As you can see here, there are a few places where we have mentioned the flags that are involved during the instruction. So first, let us take a look at what N means. N is negative condition code flag, Z is zero condition code flag, C is carry condition code flag, V is overflow condition code flag, Q is cumulative saturation bit, and GE is greater than or equal flags. So what these flags do is they tell us the microcontroller the value while executing a particular code. For example, if we are adding two numbers and it results in a carry, then your carry condition code flag would become 0. If you are subtracting two numbers and the resultant is 0, then your 0 condition code flag will become 1. So we can understand the microcontroller instruction that it is performing through the code, through the flags. Then this is the clock. This is the clock of the microcontroller. There are 4 fundamental clock sources. We have a precision internal oscillator, the main oscillator, the low frequency oscillator, and the hibernation module clock source. So all 4 of these, they provide the clock to the microcontroller, and this clock is used to generate a time delay. So these are just some of the sources, and we can here bifurcate them as to whether they can be used as a system clock, and after if it is a yes, then how we would use it as a system clock. So then this is basically the clock frequency, the amount of time it would take to execute a particular command instruction. and this is along with the divisor. So like if we divide it by 16, then your clock frequency divides by 16. If you divide it by 1, then your clock frequency divides by 1. So as you increase the divisor, your clock frequency would decrease. And if your clock frequency decreases, that means the time to execute an instruction increases. Then these are the main microprocessing element features that we have, and these are just some of the features which I summarized below. So it has a 32-bit ARM Cortex architecture. It operates on 80 megahertz. It has a single cycle multiply instruction and hardware device. It follows hardware architecture. It has a high speed alarm timer. It has a 64 kilobyte of flash memory, 24 kilobyte of single cycle SRAM. It has dedicated registers for single precision and double precision. It has 32 blocks of 16 words each is the memory size. It has 2 watchdog timers. So what these timers do is they generate a time delay. And so since we have 2 timers, one runs off the main oscillator and one timer runs off the precision internal oscillator. Then we will be seeing how this microprocessing element correlates to the architecture we learned before. So as you can see, we have the Harvard architecture here and the von Neumann architecture here. The microcontroller I chose has Harvard architecture because the Harvard architecture is a computer architecture with separate storage and single pathways for instruction and data. So as you can see, you have a single path here and here. So the data goes from the program ROM to the central processing unit via the data bus, and from here to the data memory via another data bus. But in comparison with von Neumann, this is not what happens. In the von Neumann architecture, you don't have this part. It is embedded in your RAM. So you have your ROM, RAM, and your single memory space. So your central processing unit interfaces with these through the address bus and the data bus. So one instruction started. So for example, let us consider the IIS architecture. This means that there is no central clock regulating the timing of the instruction. Only when one instruction is completed, then we can go to another instruction. So the addition time for this microcontroller was 62 microseconds and the multiplication time was 713 microseconds. Then let us take a look at the registers. So as you can see, we have R0 to R12 registers. These are the general purpose registers. R0 to R7 are the low registers, and R8 to R12 are the high registers. After these registers, we have something called as the stack pointer, the link register, and the program counter. So what your stack pointer does is it shows till where my stack is filled within the memory, and the program counter provides the next instruction that the microcontroller must execute. So this is the program state register, this is the control register, these are the exception mask registers, and all of these registers come under the category of a special register. So now let us look at the description of each register. So as I said, R0 to R12 are the general purpose registers. Your SP is your stack pointer. So again, like I said, R0 to R12, they are the general purpose registers. We have a link register. So what this link register does, it is different from 8051, is it stores the return information for subroutines, functions, calls, and exceptions. This is not present in the 8051 architecture, and it is an addition to this microcontroller that I have chosen. Then this is the program state register. It has 3 basic functions. It acts as an application program status register, an execution program state register, and an interrupt program status register. So what it does is it not only provides the address for the next instruction to carry out, but it also gives the user an insight of whether there is an interrupt that has been generated or evoked. Okay, now let us look at the type of algorithm that is used. So we have 2 types, signed and unsigned. So addition, it occurs like this, and when an overflow occurs and the sum exceeds the bit size, then as I said before that we have an overflow flag that is set. The same thing with subtraction. Now the microcontroller TM4C123D 5 p.m. It supports single precision add, subtract, multiply, divide, and accumulate, and square root operations as well. So we have 32-bit instructions for single precision, and it has a decoupled 3-stage pipeline. We will look at what that means later on in the video. So next, let us look at how the control logic unit is in correlation with what we studied in the CAO syllabus. So to execute an instruction, we need the CPU, because the CPU generates a signal, and with this signal there are two things that it would do. There are two main ways we can access the control unit. One is through hardwired and the other is microprogrammed. So this is the basic summary of a hardwired control unit. What happens is that it changes from one state to another state in every clock cycle. The main key features is that it has a fixed logic circuit and it directly corresponds to the Boolean expressions. The hardwired control is faster than the microprogrammed control, and it is based on the RISC architecture. The microprogrammed control unit, it is associated with operations related in the special memory. A few important terms that we should take care while talking about the control units are control word, which is a word where we can represent the individual bits. The micro routine is a routine or a control of words or a set of words and a sequence related to the instruction. The micro instruction is the routine that the whole thing, the whole instruction set that we write, it is known as micro instruction. And the whole programs from start to end, which is stored from ROM or RAM to the control memory, is known as a microprogram. And the control store is a micro routine for all instructions inside of a computer. So this is the control, this is the CPU diagram of the microcontroller. Now let us look at the memory mapping that we have. So as you can see, the minimum is 0000. It goes all the way till FFFF hexadecimal. So we have it is broken down into several parts, starting from the on-chip flash and to the reserved part of the microcontroller. So the memory type and attributes determine on the behavior of that region. So within this microcontroller, we have three main types: the normal, device, and the strongly ordered. The normal memory is where the processor can reorder transactions for efficiency and perform speculative reads. This is used when you want to optimize the flow of the microcontroller. You want an optimal output. Then we have a device. This preserves the transaction order and it goes step by step. It does not skip a few steps just to decrease the processing time. Then we have strongly ordered. In the strongly ordered transaction, it strictly follows order by order no matter what, whether you have an interrupt or not. So it does one order after the other. So this is the basic diagram of the control ROM of the memory that we have in this microcontroller. Now let us look at the pipelining. So pipelining is basically divided into two: arithmetic and instruction. And the pipeline, it is used for understanding the process of accumulating instruction. It allows for the storage and executing of instructions in an orderly process, because sometimes what happens within a microcontroller is that you have multiple instructions overlapping with one another, meaning you have one instruction and right after that instruction you have another instruction. So what happens is it gets overlapped. So to avoid this, we use pipelining to make sure that the running of the microcontroller is smooth. So your instruction enters from one end and exits from the other. So within this pipelining mode, we have something called as hardware management technique. So there are situations called hazards that prevent the next instruction in the instruction stream from being executing during its designated clock cycle. So this helps make sure that my microcontroller does not skip a step. So when it does, then it would evoke something called as a hazard. Hazards reduce the performance from the ideal speed up gained by pipelining. There are three main classes. You have your structural, data, and control hazards. And we also learned what a cache miss is in our class. So a cache miss is when it stalls all the instructions on pipeline both before and after the instruction, causing the miss. So to understand the pipeline, or to write a code in pipeline in the architect in the microcontroller I chose, this is what we would basically write to reset the microcontroller. And then we have something called as fault handling. So faults are a subset of the exceptions, and when a bus error on an instruction fetch or vector table load or a data access happens, then we would raise a fault. It would generate a fault. So let us lastly look at the cache coherence and how a hit and miss is handled by the microcontroller. So a microcontroller supports processor level parallelism to some extent. So I would not say that it is completely in parallelism, but it does support to some extent. So we have something called a cache coherence problem. This occurs mainly due to three causes: sharing of writable data, process migration, and inconsistency due to my input and output ports. So a few of the protocols that the microcontroller follows is the MOSI protocol and the MESI protocol. So the MOSI protocol is an extension of the SI protocol, and it adds to the protocol saying that it indicates that the present processor owns this block and will service requests from other processors for the block. And the MESI protocol is widely used, and it is a cache coherence protocol. So every cache line is marked with one of the following states: it is either modified, exclusive, shared, or invalid. So this will help us understand what each line means and how it can be accessed. Then we have the MOESI protocol, and within this protocol we have a few more states. We have modified, owned, exclusive, shared, and invalid, whereas we did not have the owned state in the MESI protocol, as you can see. So now let us discuss about what a cache hit and what a cache miss is in regards to this microcontroller. So a cache hit occurs is when the content is successfully served from the cache instead of the server. So this is the fastest way that we can retrieve data for the microcontroller. And a cache miss refers to an instant when the memory is searched but the data is not found. So when this happens, it has to go to the main memory and get the data. So now I will be explaining how I created the diagram using my using draw.io. Okay, so this is the draw.io software that I use to make the diagrams. Now I will illustrate how to make the block diagram of the microcontroller using this software. So as you can see, I named my file as 18BEC0616_DA1. You can change the name of the file according to your wish. I also, in the left hand side, you can see several drop down menus. These are for the shapes. For now, we will only be using the general shapes. Other shapes that you have is under miscellaneous, advanced, basic, arrows, flowchart. So you can make flowcharts, you can make tables, or you can use, if you need a pentagon or a hexagon, you will find that in the advanced. So I just need a rectangle, basic rectangle. So I will just drag and drop that. I can change the width of the line by increasing it here. So I want it at 5, so I will leave it at 5. And then if I need an arrow, I can just take an arrow there, but for now I don't need this. And then I need other blocks, so I'll just add all the blocks that I require for this for the block diagram. And here also I can just copy paste it and decrease or increase the size accordingly. And if I want to move this entire thing up, I can just select the entire thing and move it up like that. And then if I need a bidirectional arrow, I can select it here, connect it, and I can also change the width of the line width here by making it to 5. And then I can just copy paste and put it here, and then I can just move this entire thing so that it's connected like that. And if I need to write a name, so let me just draw the basic diagram. Okay, and then if I need to insert a text, I can do it here. I can just drag and drop the text here and then name it accordingly, or I can just right click here for the text, double click and then write the word, double click and write it. Okay, here also I can just double click and then enter the text. Okay, and then for example, if I want to increase the text, I can go to text, increase the size, and I can just increase the size here. So and then like I said, the block diagram of the microcontroller has three main parts: the system peripherals, the serial peripherals, and the analog peripherals. So I can do that by bringing the rectangle. I can also bring the arrow accordingly and place it here, and then like so. And if this block diagram needs several blocks in it, I would send it here, and then I can move this to the back. So what this does is it will make sure that the arrows come in front, they are not there already, and then I can move it accordingly. And then on this side also, or I can do one more thing, I can just select multiple items at once, copy and okay, and move it here like that. So and then I can just rename these as well. This is the watchdog timer that I mentioned previously. This is the hibernation module. Just move it. Like that. Okay, and then suppose I need an arrow to connect this with this, so I would bring this arrow and then I can use an elbow connector to connect it like that and then just align it, so like that. So yeah, this is the basic way to use draw.io. Now I will show you all the editable files that I made for the DA. So these are the registers. So this is R0, R1, R2, R3. So these are general purpose, low registers, high registers. So this is also editable, so I can increase the width, decrease it. And then this is the computer architecture, Harvard and Newman. So I can like move it or reshape it accordingly. And then yeah, okay, and then this is the clock diagram. So here also I can click it and then I can name it or I can move it. This is the TIPU block diagram. So here also I can like change the font size if I want or decrease it accordingly. And if I don't want to save the changes, I can just press discard changes. And then this is the CPU block diagram. So, that is also editable. And then this is the SSI module which I have. So here also you can like increase, decrease, and the arrow would get adjusted accordingly. And then I have the EEPROM block diagram. This is the internal memory block diagram. So like you see here, this is a dashed line, like dash line box. So I can change that here, like I can give it a solid or I can give it dashed according to my requirement. And then this is the hibernation module. Here also if I move it up down, the arrow will get adjusted. And then this is the JTAG block diagram. So here also I can like increase it, decrease it. And then this is the block diagram, the first block diagram, the main microcontroller block diagram. Thank you.